Good morning. It's a beautiful sunny day here at Hooke, and welcome to our Celtic settlement again. I have to say to you, this is our third day. At least I think it's our third day, and we're just beginning to get a little bit tired, a little bit dirty, and a little bit smelly. We asked you yesterday, by the way, how to make Richard smell a bit cleaner. We'll tell you how we got on with that in a little while. So first of all, we want to say to you, thank you very, very much indeed, all those people who emailed into us, who've sent in by Facebook, who've sent in by Twitter. We're so pleased that you've been able to do that. Thank you very much indeed, particularly William Cobbett School. We're delighted that some of your Year 3s are here today. They were at Maiden Castle, the Castle of Maiden, yesterday with a couple of our Celts. They got there around there in the rain, and they had a great time. Now, you wanted to know what the Celts did with their women. Well, the women, of course, were very important in Celtic times. They were often the leaders. They had equal rights to men, so they played a very important role. The children from William Cobbett were a little bit worried when they thought they might have to get married at the age of 12, which would be not good for them anyway. But anyway, they also wanted to know, William Cobbett did, how we protect ourselves from the wild animals. Well, you saw Chris and Richard making a fence yesterday. Well, we're doing some more work on that fence today. And of course, when you close the door of the hut, it actually stopped the wild animals coming in. But basically, we also use fire to make the animals go away. We found it very difficult, William Cobbett, at trying to do things without any furniture. You notice that we're sitting on stools. We've got stools made of trunks of wood, but there's no tables. And this is one of the things we found most difficult, actually working on the floor all the time. We'll be walking on the floor in a minute, and you'll see how difficult it is. So no furniture. My bed, I have to say, I'm really luckier than Richard and Chris, because my bed has been the softest bed of the lot. Of course, it's a bed filled with straw, and every morning I have to get up and shake it around rather than turn my mattress over like you do every other week, or not, as the case may be. But mine has to be shaken up every morning so it's nice and soft for the night before. And talking about weapons too, you want to know about weapons. Well, Chris and I have been practicing with slingshot. Hopefully we'll have a go tomorrow, if we don't manage to hit the cameras, that is. But we're not very good at slingshot at the moment. It tends to go in all directions. But we're certainly not as good as the Romans were. And I know your children, William Cobbett, are going to be working, making some monograph this morning with Richard, and they're also learning how to make some aqueducts. So their weapons are much better. And, well, okay, what about Miss Payne? You wanted to know how Miss Payne is. Well, I'm delighted to tell you Miss Payne had a lovely night's sleep, because the rest of Year 3 did. But last night, she learned how to be a Roman soldier. And we're going to show you a picture now of what Miss Payne looked like, dressed up in the armour of a Roman soldier. Doesn't she look good? Hey, my word. And everybody thought she was really good. The trouble was that the armour is so heavy that Miss Payne suddenly got smaller and smaller and smaller. So in the end, we had to take it off her. So thank you very much, Miss Payne, for dressing up like that. And let me just tell you also, thank you very much indeed to Lynn. She phoned in or emailed in and said about getting Richard clean. And she's actually got some plants called soapworts. And the Celts use soapworts to actually make themselves clean. And so thank you very much, Lynn. She's going to send those plants into Hooke Court. And we're going to plant those in our herb garden with all the other herbs and all the medicinal herbs that we've got. So, okay, right, enough of me talking now. Chris is going to show you about the oven now. Chris, what was it like last night sleeping here at Hooke Court as a Celt?
Well, last night was memorable for one of two reasons. The first reason was that it seemed to be the shortest night so far. And the second reason was that it was particularly chilly last night. I think it came down to about 4 degrees outside. Now, obviously indoors we were a little bit warmer, but tucked underneath my two animal skins, I was quite comfortable, with the exception of the cow skin. And the cow skin, which I'm sleeping on top of, has, although it's quite a nice insulated feel, every time I moved to a new bit, that new bit was cold. And so every time I kind of moved in my sleep, it woke me up just a little bit more. So it seemed a very short night, because I didn't really have a very good night's sleep at all. Not because of the cold, but just because of the sort of the lack of insulation underneath, maybe. Maybe if I'd had Alan there, which is of course straw, and maybe we're going to give me. But that was my last night. So fingers crossed tonight. The sun's shining today. It's going to be a much better night than yesterday. Now, over here, what we're going to try to do this morning is we're going to start to light the fires that we're going to place inside our oven. And throughout the morning, we're going to slowly increase the temperature and try, hopefully, to start drying out the clay that we put onto the oven yesterday. Then fingers crossed by this afternoon, we should have a sort of degree of dryness. It should now be starting to hold a little bit more heat with the insulating qualities of the clay that we've got all over the outside. And so, if we're really lucky and it doesn't all collapse down inside once this wooden frame burns out, then this afternoon we can maybe take some of the bread that Alan has prepared this morning and we'll maybe bake some in our own bread oven. But we'll have to wait and see. So, for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start the fire, and I've prepared some wood already. So I've taken some nice long straight pieces of hazel, which I'm going to place on the bottom, and then onto that, rather than having to light fire inside, we're going to bring a log from our fire that's already alight over here and place it in on top. And then I've got a selection of tinders here, of kindling here, with some small pieces that we'll put on first, then some slightly larger pieces, and then we've got some almost woody bits. Here comes my piece of wood now. So, here it goes. It hasn't fallen down yet, but what I'm then going to do is we'll place these on top. Once we get our fire actually going, then I can start to put some of these larger pieces on, and we'll start to build up the heat on the inside. So, just whilst I do that, it's probably not very exciting viewing, just going to hand back to Alan inside the hut, who's going to tell you something else that we're going to be doing today. So I'll speak to you in a second.
Maze of making bread today, and we're going to use the flour. Now, I have to say, we've had some children here, and they've been milling some flour. They've been taking some little bits of grain like this. They've been either spelt or wheat, and they put them inside the quernstones. You've got a quernstone here, put a little bit on here, and then they've been grinding it like this. Can I say to you, we've had about 25 children doing it, and that's all the flour they made. So I think if they would have been real Celts, they would have had to do a lot more grinding of flour than the children were doing here. They'd also probably had a bigger quern as well. So we're going to make some flour and make some bread. If I can show you, I'm just going to take away these bits of grain, like that, and I'm going to use the quern here to make my bread on. I'm going to take some flour that we prepared earlier, plus the flour the children had milled, and put it in there like that. And then I'm going to put in there a little bit of salt. If you remember, did you remember Chris showing you yesterday how we took salt from seawater from the sea and put some good 2 pinches of salt in, like this. Notice my platter made from little pieces of wood. And then I'm going to add the yeast. Now there's the yeast. The yeast is in my goblet here. And we put some yeast, natural yeast, live yeast, and we put some little bit of milk straight from the cow, a little bit of warm water, and a nice little bit of honey. So I'm going to put that in there like this. Okay, and mix in here, look, and start to mix it in like this. This is good, a real messy job, as you can see. No spoon, of course. A bit more water in there to get the rest of the yeast out of the pot, and start to mix in my yeast with my bread. A bit more wood. This is quite an interesting pot, isn't it? This one's made of wood. It's been carved out of wood using some of those big flints that you saw Chris make earlier in the week. You've been busy doing all sorts of things with the thing, cutting the bread, cutting the butter, and of course, a bit later on, we're hoping he's going to be working on that skin. Do you remember seeing him cut the skin off the deer yesterday, or the day before? And we want to clean the back of it. We want him to do some skiving. But the first time ever, Chris has been doing some skiving, getting it in. So I'm mixing up the dough like this, and I'm gradually going to work this up into a nice smooth ball, and then I'm going to leave it in the warm to rise, and then I shall press it down, knock it back to make a nice round, smooth bread, and then we're hoping to cook that in the oven later on today. So that's what we're going to do. I think we've got a video actually of Dylan of the bread making. Yeah, going wrong? Yeah. If we could put that up, we'll show you what happened when we did the bread making yesterday. So it's bread. We got it into what's called a Dutch oven. And this is probably how Celts would have cooked it. So it's bread with yeast in, so it's risen quite nicely, but the problem is that it's hotter at the bottom than it is at the top. So at the moment, it's still a bit soft, just a little bit soft, but the bottom I can see is burning. So what I'm going to do is take it off and turn the bread upside down and cook it the other way up. And that should, I hope, make it good. So you see, it didn't really work, did it? So what we're hoping is that in Chris's new bread oven, with this new type of bread here, with the yeast nicely gone, we get a much better thing today. Now then, how can you help us today? Well, I don't know, poor Chris, you should see his hands. They are so sore. And what we're looking for is for some remedy, some recipe for Chris to rub into his hands to make his hands feel better. If you actually look on Facebook, you can actually see a picture of Chris's sore thumb. How did the Celts actually keep their hands actually in a good condition so that they can use them for weaving, for sewing, for all those sorts of things that the Celts would have done apart from doing the rough things? All of our hands, Richard and Chris and mine, all our hands have got very, very rough indeed and very sore. So your key question today, will you please send us a recipe for making our hands smooth again? So Chris, over to you. I hope your hands are feeling a bit better anyway.
Hi, thanks Alan. Well, we've got an awful lot of smoke, and believe me, there are some flames deep inside the oven there. So what I'd ask you to do is maybe come back and join us later on, when we can see whether or not our oven has been successful, or whether the whole thing is just going to collapse in on itself. Hopefully also we'll be able to bring the lambs, to put them into our newly completed hurdle fencing area, to our little livestock stockade there. So just a reminder again, if you do want to contact us, it's facebook.com/HookeCourt, or Twitter, and it's #HookeCourt, or you can go to the YouTube channel and search for the Hooke Court channel.